Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone doing on this wonderful day? Thanks for being here. Another live edition of Node Investor. It's going to be I wouldn't say late night edition. Late is relative, but it's 9 p.m. my time, and early for some of you guys. So that's good. I scared you. Wake up. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for waiting and for being here with me. I appreciate it. I know a lot of you guys have been with me since the early days, and for those of you that have just recently joined the community here at Node Investor, you are certainly welcome as well. Thank you all for being here. It's funny. I was watching. I mentioned this in my last video. I was doing a somebody had sent me an old video of mine. Oh, Melissa in the house. How you doing, Melissa? And it was funny because I was listening to myself and I was like, good Lord, that's horrible. It's like, so if you guys stuck around through that, I appreciate it. But anyway, it's been quite the journey. And, I just kind of want to reiterate the mission now that I'm on that thread. My purpose for starting this video, I don't know if many of you guys know, but the reason I started the channel on YouTube was because at the time, right, this was very early 2017. I had been investing in crypto for some time, and I have been trading other markets prior to crypto. And I was looking for some good technical analysis channels for cryptocurrency. And there were a few. I'm not going to mention any names, but I was not impressed. Let's just put it that way. And so I started the channel to fill that void. And, not surprising when the big bull market went parabolic second half of last year, you had every variant of crypto YouTube channel that started up. So I know there's a lot of you guys that are also running your own channel now, but and that's not surprising. Things are hot, things are excited. Everybody wants to join the game. But that's why I started that. Two things: to talk charts, talk technical analysis, to talk markets, and to do education. And those are kind of my two main mission points. And I'll cover some other things. I'll talk other news items and fun tidbits. But at the end of the day, that's my purpose here. That's my mission: is the technical analysis, charts, market commentary, and to teach you guys a little bit about it as well. And so some of you guys are well versed in some of this, and other you guys are relatively new, and some of you guys also say technical analysis is stupid and I don't like it. And so this channel you're gonna really love. So anyway, enough bantering. Let's get to it. I'm gonna talk Bitcoin. I'm gonna look at a few charts. I'm gonna limit this to the top of my hour, just because I just got back from a vacation, and as usual, you get a little bit of a cold, too much fun. So I'm kind of going to recover a little bit, battling it out. I've been busy starting the next month of my private group, and so looking forward to that. But most of all, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking forward to some July rally. I've been getting a lot of flack about calling the July rally a few weeks ago and then saying, hey, and guys, at the end of the day, right, you make predictions and you make assessments, and at the end of the day, you trade what the market tells you. You don't actually, you wait for the signals. Although I'll get into this later. I was buying not long-term holds. I wouldn't call it long-term, but on my stock account, GBTC was just way oversold. So I picked up, I would say, a sizable amount there. I took a little profit on it today, but it was just so overwashed out. But I'm looking for more than just a little bounce, and I've been talking about that. We've been having these little bear flags along the way, and they've been little bounces, very anemic. But this one, I'm expecting to be a little bit more than just that little bear flag, and we're starting to see that action. So I am looking for a July rally, and when I say rally, I mean more than 10-15% sustained in the alts to participate, and we're already up 14%, right? So we're basically there. Now I'm personally looking for a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a higher low to be established, and then some more positive action. We'll get to the alts right now, but the alts, right? This is This is not what we've seen here in these prior moves. I mean, I was doing a little bit of trading along the way down here, but I mean, it was like if you got 10%, you know, you take the money and run, quick profits and get out of the way. Now, I mean, we're seeing some major moves on some of these alts that are not just these little tiny 10% moves. So you're seeing some pretty significant percent moves up, not across the board yet, but it's much thorough, much more in depth than it was back here, right? Where it was just the onesie twosie names here and there. This is a little bit more participation across the board, which is also confirming what we're seeing in BTC. And so let me kind of zoom in a little bit here on the charts. Let's go to CoinMarketCap first. And so looking at the CoinMarketCap, $274 billion. BTC dominance, I believe, has near term topped, and we're going to see some alt recoveries. The alts have just been so overdone to the downside, and you're seeing many of them have some pretty strong reversals, and that's very typical, right? That initial move off the lows is big numbers, generally speaking, just because it's the quick reaction back to the mean. And so you're seeing that here, right? NEO up 18% just today, already up big off the lows. NEM just recently broke out, and you're seeing some of these, right? So we'll go through some of these names here shortly, but green across the board, finally. And it's not just little green, it's good green, big green. And so that's what we like to see here. So I'm expecting some BTC dominance to at least go flat, if not drift lower here in the near term, as some of these alts stage a little bit of a recovery. But before I get too far, noteinvestor.com is where you can find more information about me. I've got this alert site that I've just launched. There's a lot more coming to that. So you can say it's still in a little bit of a beta mode, but it's definitely live. And then as well as training. And by the end of the month, we'll be rolling out some new training. I know some of you guys have been asking me about it, and it's coming. I've got the TA 101 type of stuff, fundamentals, crypto 101, but the next training that I'm going to be rolling out, it's going to be very in-depth. It's going to be the full course, if you will, get you from A to Z, technical analysis, as well as trading strategies, that sort of thing. Ultimately, they will be available, I don't want to say for free, but they are included on this alerts page. So if you're a subscriber to that, you get access to all the training for free. So noteinvestor.com, go check that out. Now let's get to it. Looking at the charts here, in my last video, I recapped some of the signs of the low that we were looking at. And so you can say there was a double bottom. It was more price action related. You had that dragon doji here at the bottom, this big wick turned into a support bar. Even though that's red, I mean, for all intents and purposes, $30, $40 more, this would have been a big green volume candle, right? It could have gone either way. It's a support bar. Even though it's a red, it's very positive. The fact that they tried to test the lows and it bounced higher, and then we had a retest of that, didn't quite undercut that most recent low, and then we had the bullish engulfing daily candle the following day, which was on above average volume and well higher than the prior days. And so that's good news, kind of confirmed that that was a good intermediate low, and here we are off to the races. If you go to the weekly chart, it's real important to note, let me clear these arrows, that we've tested that $5,800 area a couple of times now. And so that is now a very significant level of support to be watching. This 5,800, you can see the last 2 weeks were these little wicks to the bottom and the recovery. And now we're seeing the bounce. I expect this week to be a higher week, a green close, a counter trend rally, maybe the start of a couple of weeks higher. But you can see we've tested that, and we tested that last time back in November here. And, you know, there was this big washout low in February. So this is a key level. And so that's going to be the thing to watch. If the bear trend resumes after this bounce, this counter trend rally, whatever we want to call it, after that, if it starts to drift lower again and it goes back to that zone, if it tests it again, I do not expect it to hold. The fact that it's held here and it's tested it twice, 2 weeks in a row, if we come back that deep and test it again, I expect we'll see a little bit of a reaction lower. How low that goes is anyone's guess at that point. You guys know where I stand in terms of my ultimate bottom. I think if it goes lower, it'll bottom around that 5K mark, 4,800, 49. But that's very important to watch. The fact that we've broken this broader downtrend is very important on this weekly chart. Now, if I add the moving averages here, you can see we're bouncing from oversold levels, basically, right? I mean, we were stretched down to the downside. This is the 10-week moving average. You can see just how far below prices got, even on a weekly basis. And so we were due for a bounce. And we could just as easily bounce right into that moving average, and that could be the end of it, and just take us to 71, 7,200, right? Or it could go up to the next level around 7,800, and I'll get into some more specifics on the resistance levels, but that's going to be the process. Now, this could have been the low, the ultimate low. I know there's still a lot of you guys that think, no, we're going lower, going to 3,000, 4,000, whatever number you're thinking, but it could be that this is the low, and we begin an accumulation phase where things just kind of meander for a little while before another bull run resumes. So there's a couple of things to look at. On the weekly chart, the RSI never dropped below 40 either. So that's important. You guys know where I stand in terms of remaining in long-term bull mode. Holding that 40 mark is important. So that's still held. The MACD, which is a little bit more of a lagging indicator, is below the zero line, and it's also inverted. It's been inverted since way back here anyway, so that's not really telling us much on the weekly charts. But going back to the daily, which right now, that's really the thing I'm watching from a near-term perspective, only because most of my trading is the shorter-term time frames anyway. I'm looking at the 1 hour, the 4 hours, and the daily charts from a trading perspective. From a long-term hold perspective, some of you guys are asking, hey, should I be adding here? Should I be looking at the long-term positions, or should I be selling here? If you've written it down this whole way, me personally, you guys, everybody has a different risk tolerance. But if I was buying up here near the highs, and here I am sitting at 6,000 BTC, at this point, I wouldn't sell. That's just me. Especially at oversold conditions. You've ridden it most of the way down. At least wait for a bounce if you really need to get rid of the BTC. The reason that's so hard of a question to answer is because everyone has a different time frame. I mean, if you invested money that you need back in a few months, then you probably should sell, right? If you've invested money that you don't need and you're willing to hold it for a longer time frame, a year, 2 years, then why at this point would you sell at the lows, in my opinion? So it just kind of depends. Now, should you be buying? That's a different question, because there's no confirmation that the bear is over, and so we are oversold. Now, to that point, I was buying. I wouldn't say I was buying Bitcoin, because it's technically not Bitcoin, but it tracks the price of Bitcoin, and that's the GBTC, which is the Bitcoin Investment Trust. And I had some, I wouldn't say spare change. I had some decent amount of capital on the stock account that has just been parked in cash because I've been out of the markets for the most part. And I thought, hey, why not? So, right, pick up some of this GBTC here at the lows. You can see the RSI on this guy was at 23. I was on vacation, but I started scooping some of this up here. Over the weekend, we had the gap up, so it took a little bit of profit into this bounce on that, but I'm still holding some of that. So, that's an alternative. It's not exactly BTC again, but you're getting some exposure to it a different way, if you will. So what else here? So going back to BTC, and then I'll get into some of these alts, what to look for in the near term. So we covered the daily chart. We covered some of the big picture here. Looking at the near-term action, right? And so looking at the hourlies, and it's funny because I like to say, I really hated trading stocks because of all the gaps, and the gaps up and the gaps down. Well, this is our equivalent of the gaps, right? I mean, when you zoom in, it's like you get these moves. Look at this. This is a 5-minute candle, right? So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's your gap, right? You're getting couple $100 moves in 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then flat for hours. And we saw that here yesterday, right, where we had that big move going into the weekend, and then look at how many hourly candles this guy went flat. It was 59 bars, 59 hours of just range-bound action. Now, that's Bitcoin, of course. Other things were moving during this range-bound action, but that just goes to show you the nature of this market has just been very reactive. Now, I know this is a weekend, and it's a holiday here in the States, and that's certainly a factor because of the lower volume, but that's just been the nature of BTC here recently. It's just this big move and then flat, and big move is like, this is not trending, right? This is stair stepping. It's a harder way to trade this because it's not exactly trending, but it's good that we finally broke to the high ups, the upside. I mean, this just because it could have easily had a quick move down and retested it and gave us the infamous BART pattern. We saw another leg higher, which is positive. Now, near term, keep in mind the RSI on the 1 hour chart was at 80s for most of the day. It's drifting a little bit lower here. That's not unusual when prices are going sideways, but it is still a little bit overbought in the near term. You can see here on the 4 hour, the moving averages are still catching up a little bit. They're sitting down at 6,500 or so. And so even a little bit of pullback would be normal here. On the daily chart, the 10 EMA is sitting down around 6,400. And so anywhere in between there, I would actually like to see a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a pullback here first before we get another move higher. Keep in mind, eventually we will get a decent pullback that will go to establish a higher low on this daily chart. And then I'm anticipating that to be a higher low. Some short covering, some people that are sitting on the sidelines waiting to enter will start finding support there. And then I'm looking for another leg higher. So, be patient. If you didn't catch that initial pop or if you weren't in, there's no need to FOMO. There's going to be opportunities, in my opinion. But you're seeing other names really rallying strongly here. NEO, man, NEO, look at this. NEO was sub $30 for a little while, but sub 30 NEO. It was just begging you to buy it at this point. But here we are having a very strong move off of NEO from the exact lows. And of course, that's using the exact lows. Nobody ever gets the exact low unless you're lucky there. But, it's already up 40%. And that's in just a handful of days here. So very cool. Nice to see that NEO is moving strongly. You look at some of the other names, big cap names, right? The smaller names are moving even bigger here, but Cardano from the lows up 38%, right? And so you're seeing that across the board in a lot of these names, and that's good news. That's just showing a lot of breadth in the market, right? A lot of depth behind this move. It's not a onesie, twosie, crap coin pump here and there. It's bigger cap names that are moving with some decent volume. And you can see that's because they were just so oversold. A lot of these names were just very washed out. NEO, like I said, like the RSI on the daily here was living at the low mid-20s. This thing had dropped significantly just from the May lows. I mean, down 70% from the top in May. And generally what happens is those names that are the most beaten up, the names that are the most washed out, make for the best counter trend trades when the market finds a low, because you get that quick reaction reversion to the mean. And so from a percentage basis, those are usually the better trades, right? The higher winners, if you will, at least in the first round of the recovery. After that, it kind of normalizes. Then you get bases and setups, and then at that point, the strategy changes a little bit. So we're getting some pretty good action across the board. There was some real big ones. Verge was showing some significant movement yesterday. Here's Verge on Binance. It looks tiny here on this big chart, but if you zoom in a little bit here on Verge, this is not a small move. You can see this was, pretty decent move. Did I say Verge? No, I'm sorry, not Verge. Yeah, Verge was tiny. What was the other one that was the 100%er yesterday? Oh, Poet. Poet was the one that was like, what happened there? I mean, there was some pumps and dumps happening yesterday. Look at 120% on Poet. 0x was showing some pretty good action off of the lows. The 0x was an early mover, up 54% off of the lows. And so you get the picture. I mean, it's across the board. And so it's nice to see that for a change, right? It's the character of the market and the moves that we're seeing here has changed from this very weak movement that we saw the last several weeks. And it was a long grind down. It was a depressing grind down. I know a lot of folks just stopped trading altogether. And it's not just my assessments. Other YouTubers, the Twitter sphere, people, newsletters, all that, everything has just dropped off significantly. And that just is natural following this severe of a correction, and people lose interest, right? Or they find other markets to go trade. And so that's it's good to see that we're finally seeing a little bit of a counter trend movement from that, because it's been a long grind down. And like I said, that was the premise of my, I wouldn't say prediction, because I mean, predictions are just that, but that was the premise of my expectation here, that we were going to see a little bit stronger of a move here soon, because we were just so overdue for it. The RSI was showing some divergence for the last 2 weeks. The momentum to the downside was really starting to wane. Well, the signs were all there. Basically, is that the signs were there. It was just a matter of when, and I thought it would happen going into July. And here we are. We're seeing it happen into July. So the question is always, how much more do we go from here? So let's do some quick analysis. And real quick, I'll get off of BTC here. We'll do some charts that you guys want to look at. But this is the most important one because at the end of the day, this is what drives the markets, as you guys all know. So a couple of quick things. I laugh at CNBC because I watched the video, and it was actually a really good interview. It had, what's his name? Hayes from BitMEX, and had some other people on there. It was a good interview, but it was funny because like the last couple of days, it's like Bitcoin is below 6,000, doom and gloom. And they started the video by saying Bitcoin is stuck below $6,000. And I said, wait a minute, let me show you guys something here. So let me draw that horizontal line. I even had a friend call me. He's a, I would say, a pretty well up there investor, but he is not Bitcoin friendly at all. And he called me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in like 6 months, and he's like, Bitcoin is below 6,000, blah, blah. He's like teasing me, right? And but look at this. You know, they're all talking about how Bitcoin is stuck below 6,000, and Bitcoin closed below 6,000 one day this year. That's it. Literally one day. I mean, if you look at the blue line, that's the 6,000 mark. It dipped below 6,000 intraday, but that one red candle was the only day of the year that Bitcoin has closed below 6,000. And so keep that in mind when you hear all the doom and gloom about Bitcoin is stuck below 6,000. It's like, it really isn't. I mean, it's been one day, one day. So anyway, it's kind of funny when I get those calls, and that it kind of just leads me to believe that the sentiment, it's an interesting sentiment reading. So this guy, he's pretty well off. He's very conservative. He's one of the, hey, if I get 6% in a year, I am happy kind of guys. So crypto is definitely not for him, and he's okay with that. But I've been telling him to buy Bitcoin since it was $500, and he's been teasing me the whole way up. And so now that it's down to $6,000, patting himself on the back there because he missed the rally, and he's happy that it's come down off of $20,000. And so it's kind of funny, but it's all in good game, in good fun, because I respect him, and he's a very sharp individual, but crypto is just not his game. So simple as that. All right. So that's it for BTC. Couple of things to note on the broader downtrend, right? I've been talking about this channel that we've been in. That has also been broken. What tends to happen a lot of times is these trend lines, once they're broken, let me clear the moving averages because that'll help clear it. Once these trend lines are broken, it's not unusual to see them retested. So if we do pull back, I mean, even a pullback to the 6,300 area would not worry me one bit. So just keep that in mind if we do begin to see some corrective action. In fact, it would be very healthy to see some corrective action if we go from here. So that's BTC. I've rambled on the Bitcoin long enough. Let's take a look at some other charts here. Let me look at I had a watch list here. Let me go to my other screen here that you guys probably can't see anyway, and pull up some of the names that I was looking at, many of which have already long broken out or are close to breaking out. Real quick, by the way, for those of you that are interested, I am running the Node Insiders group, the July session. Sign up is open now. There's a few spots left. We've already technically started, but I'm going to leave the sign up session open until end of tomorrow. And so go check that out if you want to join us. And that's where I post watch lists and trades that I'm liking and things that I'm in right now, that sort of thing. So one of them is Power. Power Ledger was one of the big movers off of the lows here when this whole rally started. Sorry about the squiggling there. Let me go to the line. Let me clear this because I was doing some analysis here. But you can see it had that massive volume off that lows. Very nice move. Now, if you go to the 4-hour chart, just look at how tight this has been sitting, right? It's been sitting real tight. Obviously, this is a symmetrical pattern which could go either way. But the fact that it's coming off of such a strong move, the bulls have the upper hand here in terms of which way this is going to break. And so I'm leaning bullish on this guy, and I'm long, so I've initiated some positions on this guy. But this is one to definitely be watching here near term. As far as targets go, you know, this one is a higher risk but higher potential. So on the downside, you got to give it some wiggle room, right? So I mean, I would give it, you know, 7-8% at least, just to make sure you don't get whipsawed out of this guy. But if this breaks out, you know, just even a test of the recent highs, that's 15% higher from here. The most absolute top of that wick is about 22% higher from here. I was also doing some fib extensions on this guy as a potential target. Let me go here and let me do this entire leg higher here and bring it back down. And doing that, the 127 is a target that I like to use on the extension side of things. And so that is basically like 40% higher. I wouldn't necessarily hold out for that much, but that 127 extension aligns pretty well with some prior resistance back here. And so if it does see a strong leg move, that's going to be where I'm looking at. And before that, in terms of taking profit, but one day at a time, obviously. 1 hour at a time in this game. But I'm keeping an eye on Power Ledger, so that's one that's setting up here for a potential breakout. Let me see what other names were on the list here. Looks like Bitcoin Cash was one I was watching earlier today, and it just had another leg up here. Let me do Bitcoin Cash dollar first. We'll take a look at the Bitstamp. Yep, that just broke out. And so it was setting up a nice little bear or bull flag here in the last couple of hours. And you can see here in the last 3 hours, and really in the last 2 hours, that's broken out. And look at the volume, right? That's what you want to look for, is the volume signatures. When you see those big moves on a breakout, you like to see big volume because it shows conviction, it shows strong buying, and not just painting the tape and moving above resistance and stuff, right? So that's what you want to see. So that's good move there following that pause. So we had, you know, the big consolidation over the weekend, the move today, a little bit of a bull flag, and then boom, going higher. And so Bitcoin Cash is looking pretty good. Now this one is testing the broader trend line that it's at. This one hadn't broken the trend line, and so it's just now clearing that here. So I was actually on a call earlier today with somebody, and we were looking at this chart, and I was saying, hey, Bitcoin Cash hasn't actually broken out yet. Might be one to go look at here. And here we go. It's breaking out now. So that one's looking pretty good. And a lot of these names are going to have a similar pattern because they've been following BTC. So when you look at it from the dollar perspective, they are basically the same pattern, right? So look for the ones that are just now breaking out. So you can see Litecoin didn't have. So when you see a bull flag, I actually prefer to see the bull flags that do this as opposed to the bull flags like Litecoin that go like this. And the reason is if they drift lower on lower volume, it sets up for a lower entry point from the breakout perspective. And generally, the RSI is stronger when you do that because it drifts a little bit lower. But Litecoin's same pattern, some good volume showing up there. And this is nice to see. I mean, Litecoin was down here at the low $70. And nice recovery up to about $90 so far. So looking at Litecoin, checking out Ethereum. So let's go to the ETH on the dollar chart. And this one's just now starting to edge up higher above resistance. So looking pretty good here. Yesterday, the breakout point I was watching was around that 860. And you can see that blew right through that earlier today along with everything else when we had that big move higher in BTC. Going longer term on the ETH here. So many of these, I think the rally is just getting started in my opinion. Doesn't mean it's going to go straight up without a correction. They always have to correct a little bit along the way. But so this one has not quite yet broken that trend line. So it'll be interesting to see if it does. I expect it will. But this one's lagging a little bit versus BTC right now. Maybe it's due to play some catch up here. Let's see what it looks like on the BTC chart. Yeah, it's coming off the lows here. So still has room to run versus Bitcoin. So one of the ones that are just now catching up, you can see on the 4-hour chart, this is just now breaking out versus Bitcoin on the 4-hour. When I say breaking out, it's not necessarily a breakout trade as much as it is clearing resistance here near term. So, but that's good. It's just now getting above that. So we'll get some outperformance on Ethereum versus BTC here. Let me see here. Let's take a couple more look at some of these names here. And then I'm keeping an eye on the ones that you guys have posted here. I will get to those. I'm looking at a few names that I posted earlier to the group here. So let me see. ARK was one that was looking pretty good off the lows. How is that looking right now? Still pretty good. Again, ARK had that little flag signature right there. And when you play those, the way you look at those is you wait for the break of the trend. And so that candle there is your trigger. That's your setup. So the setup is, this bull flag. The trigger is a break above that trend or a close above that. That's your trigger. Simultaneously, your entry point as well. Here it is, testing the highs. I think it's going higher, but that one's looking pretty good here. On the daily chart, again, it's bouncing right into this resistance. So that'll be a significant break higher. If it does, then I'd be looking at something along this level here as the next potential target. So let's do a quick fib analysis on this guy. How's ARK looking here? I won't do from the exact top. I'll do a conservative move and say just this impulse leg here. You can see that 382 was that first pause, which is good. It confirms that the fib levels are lining up. And let me see here. Right there. And then so you get the pullback, the reaction, and then usually the next level, the next fib level is your target. So the 618 around 2750 is what I'd be looking for on ARK. And that's, another 15% higher. And then the 786, which is surprisingly lines up perfectly with that resistance line that I drew. So that's some good fib analysis there, because what tends to happen is you want to get confirmation on the Fibonacci when you do a retracement analysis. And if you can get confirmation with the retracement levels lining up to either a pause and a pullback or some sort of resistance, it just gives you some little bit more conviction behind that target. So those are the two levels I'm going to be watching on ARK. That's looking pretty good. Let me see here. I was watching NEM earlier. I think NEM blew out already very nicely. So NEM is it's gone. It's gone. You missed it. So NEM's higher. Just look for a secondary entry on those kind of guys, the ones that move higher like that. What else? Strat was setting up nicely earlier. How's that looking right now? Strat just now getting breaking out a little bit here. So Strat was pausing. Still looks good here, in my opinion. Has room to go. On the 4 hours, just marching up nicely. You see this little trend line that's really starting to form there. So Strat's looking pretty good. And when you see a trend line established here, especially if it's had a couple of touches to it already, those are the best entries, is little dips right back to the trend line. One example is QuantStamp. QuantStamp's been setting up here a little bit of a trend line recently. And so that's what I'm watching here is these little touchbacks to this trend line. They just make a little bit more of a conservative entry if you're looking to buy on a pullback, on a retracement, if you will. So QuantStamp's looking pretty good. I'm still liking this one here. It's had a strong move off the lows, so I'm looking for some acceleration to the upside on that guy. Another one is Ontology. And so Ontology has not quite had the move that many of these have had. If you look at Ontology Tether, liking that just because it's still not quite broken out yet, but it's setting up beautifully here, and it's just sitting right below resistance. And so it's like, this is what you like to see, right? You like to see the pullback, then the big volume move higher, and then consolidation at the upper end of that range, right? Not wide and choppy, loose action. So as long as it stays within this range, it just really builds a case for some likelihood of this breaking out. And this is a key resistance level on the USD pair. And so that'd be a nice breakout to see on Ontology. And so it just depends on your trading, if you're coming in from the BTC side or the USD Tether side. I really like in that Binance is adding so many Tether pairs, because when the market's so risky, I prefer to trade directly from a Tether pair as opposed to a BTC side. Let's see. ENG was one I was watching. Still looking pretty good. I think it's still in range here. I was looking at this little bit of a downtrend that it was in. Clearly, it's broken that now. In the last day or so, it's been moving higher, and so that one's still looking pretty good. Let me see what else was on the list here. Oh, Digibyte. I had Digibyte on the list yesterday. Nice ascending triangle, and it broke out. So you can see Digibyte had a very nice ascending triangle pattern, and this is the classic textbook definition of one. I mean, you have the prior run. You can see that was a 40% move off the lows. And then you have this consolidation with higher lows and higher lows. And then you have the breakouts. And on the move higher, look at the volume that came in as it broke out above resistance. I mean, that's textbook. That's what you like to see. And it's beautiful to start seeing more of these names. And so use this as a good example. I mean, this is a perfect illustration for, if you missed that initial move off the lows, right? You kind of missed that initial 40%. Oh man, it's already at 40%. I totally missed the boat here. Wait for some of these type of patterns to show up, right? Cup and handle, a little, ascending triangle on the 1 hour, the 4 hour. Those make beautiful secondary entries. So if you can get those are nice. What was some of the other ones here that I was watching? And then I'll definitely go through, ZIL. Let's see how ZIL's doing. Zilliqa. Voice is getting raspy here. So ZIL broke out. So you can see I had the line here marked. So many of these names broke out, man. And I've admittedly have missed a lot of these just because I used most of today to do, I did a little trading, but most of today to do kind of the setup and stuff for my new group. I'm not worried. There will be more names to go, but I did post about 30 names. So if you're in my group, hopefully you caught some of these. I posted about 30 names last night. All of these had not broken out yet. So let's see. Who else? Let's do ICX. You guys are asking about that one here. Icon. Nice little flag forming on Icon here. So this one's definitely looking pretty nice. Check out some of the technicals on this guy. RSI is looking good. MACD's positive, moving higher. Bull momentum index very strong right there. So Icon's good. Maybe it's going to play some catch up here. You can see this is nice little consolidation on that 4 hour last few bars there. So looking very strong here. No complaints on that guy there. It's definitely setting up here. Binance, yeah, good one. Let's take a look at Binance here. I'm going to look at it from the tether pair because that's how I was watching this. I'm going to have to readjust that lower trend line, but you can see it's kind of just living right on the line here in recent days. And, to be honest, I don't like the way this looks. It's like you had this little bit of a double top, and then you had the pullback, and this feels like it's just wedging higher. RSI is not that strong, especially compared to some of the other names. So it's going to need to convince me, but if it can get above, this 1520, 1530 or so with some decent volume, that'll really start to negate the way it's looking here. And the fact that it's still technically holding that lower trend line, this bigger picture line is good. I mean, this is kind of just really tightening up here in the big picture. So no complaints from there. Just near term, it's not as strong as some of the others have been here off the lows. You can see versus BTC still drifting a little bit lower. Let's see how that looks on a retracement. It's basically at the 382 versus BTC. So this combined with the USD pair sitting right on the trend line, this would be an ideal place for Binance to hold and form a low. Whopper coin. Whopper. Man, honestly, I can't even remember the last time I had a Whopper. Do they still make Whoppers? I date myself here a little bit, but I remember when Whoppers were still like $1 or something like that. Old school right there. So WePower was another one I was watching. Had that big volume reversal, but it looks like it's finally pausing here. So maybe setting up for another little bit of a move higher here. Stellar Lumens. Apparently nobody on Bitfinex trades Stellar Lumens BTC pair. Another one here. Where's mine? Here it is. Binance. There it is. All the volumes on Binance for Stellar and Polo. So let me go to the 4 hour. I mean, nothing to say. This is trending strongly. I mean, it's maybe a little extended, but it's just trending strongly. Very nice action here. So looking good on Stellar. Steady climber. All right, let's see here. You don't like Whoppers? They're disgusting. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Let me go through some of your guys' names here. We did ZIL, Tron. Oh, and Cash. Yeah, that was moving here. So let me do this here while we're at it. Encash, nice setup on Encash here. This was one of the big movers, just like Power. It was moving that same day, had just massive volume. Quick reversal lower, but you can see it's trying to form a little bit of a base here at this new level. So definitely one to keep an eye on. It's looking pretty good here, actually. It's not too bad here. Let me see on the 4 hour. 10 EMA is just now catching up on the 4 hour. So ideally, in and around here should serve as pretty good support. Look at the volume on this just really drying up. It's setting up for another move, in my opinion. Encash. That's actually pretty good. That was on my list yesterday. I wrote Encash, look for a secondary entry. Good to see that. All right, let me see here. What else? I'm going to have to highlight that one. What did I say? Oh, Tron. You guys were going to ask about Tron. All right. Tron definitely trying to turn the corner here along with a lot of these names. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me move this here. I meant to do this. There we go. So yeah, nice little move on Tron. A little bit of a rounding base here coming off the lows on that 4 hour chart. And it's bumping right up against resistance right now. You can see this prior support that broke down. You can see it was tested there, tested here. It's testing it right now. So a break above that would be confirmation, and it's going to probably move another leg higher. And that's going to be probably the next level I'd be looking at on Tron. So not too shabby right there. How much of a move is that anyway? I always like to see the move percent moves. Oh, that's not that. That's nothing. That's 5%. That's nothing. You know, on the downside, you got to give it 4 or 5%. So we get spoiled in crypto. We're like 5%. Pff, that's nothing. You know, speaking of 5%, I do a little bit of other stuff. Not a lot, but a little bit. Tesla. Full disclosure, I'm short Tesla, but had a pretty decent move today. Down big here just on the open of the week, about 6-7%. I was down. Look at this big engulfing candle with this huge volume, right? I mean, when I woke up earlier, I was like, what? This is 4 or 5% down, Tesla. So one to keep an eye on here. I got earnings coming up soon in a couple of weeks, so I'm betting on a little downside action on Tesla. And what else? I'm looking at. I did a little short on the GDX. GDAX. I shorted GDAX. I'm kidding. The GDX. This one's sitting tight here, so we'll see what happens there. Not a big position, but just a little something you guys reminded me of. All right. Let's see here. What's going on in crypto here? What's going on? Oh, Monero. Looking at Monero, the privacy. Speaking of privacy, I got to rant. I got to rant a little bit on privacy here because I don't use cash often, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But I went to the bank to deposit some cash today, and they said, "Is this your account?" And I said, "Yes." Let me see your ID. I was like, "Excuse me?" Yeah, let me see your ID. I said, I've had my account with you guys for 20 years, and I've never been asked for an ID to make a deposit. You guys don't want my money? They said, it's a new policy. No matter how big your deposit is, $5, $5,000, it doesn't matter. We need to get ID so we can track every deposit and who makes it. I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's time to get a new bank. But anyway, privacy, guys. There's a war on privacy. So Monero is your answer. But Monero is actually looking pretty good here on the charts. I'm liking the setup here versus BTC, setting up to maybe break resistance here in the near term. You can see volume patterns are looking very strong here, starting to test it. So looking pretty good coming off that moving average right now. Definitely trending stronger here and well overdue for some catch up. You can see it's just now on the 1 hours moving higher above range here. Let me see how this looks on the How's this look on the RSI? Has plenty of room before it gets overbought. So Monero's though looking pretty good here. Monero dollar, cracking. Monero dollar, very nice. A little bit of a pause, bull flag here. So nothing to complain about there. Looking good. Cardano, Facebook buying Coinbase. God, I hope not. I saw that rumor and I was thinking, that's it. No more GDAX for me. Well, it's not even GDAX anymore. It's Coinbase Pro, but it's going to take me a while before I stop calling it GDAX. But yeah, we would not be excited if Facebook bought Coinbase. I mean, let's be honest. That would really suck. And I hate to say this, guys, because I'm so bullish on the space, but the dream that the early Bitcoin crypto enthusiasts had is very slowly going away, guys. I hate to say that, but it's not surprising. I mean, think about it, right? Remember when you first got into, well, I guess it depends when you first got into crypto, but if it was, more than a year ago, it was like, wow, decentralized and who needs a bank? And this is going to disrupt finance and banks are gone and you guys are toast and the Fed is gone. And I mean, let's be real. They were not just going to sit by idly and let this thing happen. And there's two options. You can either squash it, and obviously that didn't happen. They tried, but there's no more putting Pandora's back in the box here. So the next option is you try to regulate the hell out of it and control it, and then ultimately own it. And that's what we're seeing, guys. We're seeing, I mean, think about it, right? You see Circle, you see the institution. The last couple conferences I went to, it was like 90% Wall Street banker types, VCs and hedge funds. And that's just the way it's gone now. And the kind of that early crowd, the libertarian mentality, it's still there, but it's not as prominent as it once was in the early days. Now, I mean, everybody here is just here to make a buck, right? We're just here to trade and we want to get rich and screw all the initial philosophy. That just push that aside. We're just here to make money. And that's just the way it's gone. So it is what it is. But it's not surprising. And so along those lines, I expect to see more pressure on the exchanges. And if you just go and look at the exchanges that I mean, just from a year ago, right? Who was the top 1, 2, 3? This is going to all change, guys. I promise this is going to change. And there's going to be new exchanges that are not even on the radar yet. They're going to show up and they're going to become the big volume exchanges, and they're going to be owned by NASDAQ, and they're going to be owned by some of these major financial centers. These guys might still be around, but there's going to be a lot of changes to this list along the way before it's all said and done. This is a very young market. 200, sub 300 billion. That's tiny. That's a drop in the bucket compared to more established markets. So anyway, my rant is done. Privacy. Cardano, very strong. Again, one of the early movers off the lows. Cardano was just so beat up, so oversold versus Bitcoin. You can see we were living down here at the low 20s RSI, just bearish as all can get out. I mentioned Cardano in my last newsletter. I use it as an example, not to rub people's noses in it, but just because it was so much like so many other names. In January, right, this guy was worth $30+ billion, and it went all the way down to 3 billion, right? And so it's just massive correction. The valuation resets, as I was talking about in that newsletter, and now we're seeing a pretty good reversal of that trend. We're seeing a strong counter trend rally, and it's still going. Nothing here. It is a little extended, right? So, I mean, if you're looking at, should I jump on Cardano now? Could he go higher? Yeah, but from a trading perspective, I always look for lower risk, right? And right now, this I would not consider lower risk just because it's a little extended now, right? It's gone up, well, 24%. I mean, that's normally good, but compared to some other names, it's not that much. But the RSI is getting up there. But it's strong. It's a strong trend higher. So we did ARC. Let me see here. Someone was asking me about, how do I stay organized while trading? Notes, Excel, whiteboard. The short answer is yes. It's just because, I'm on the go. I used to use whiteboard. I don't anymore. Not that I don't like it, because honestly, I love whiteboards, but I'm just never in the same place when I'm trading. And I mean, I have my home base, my office with my setup, but a lot of times, I'll take the laptop and I'll go sit somewhere and work from somewhere else, or if I'm on travel. So it just doesn't help to have the whiteboard. So I tend to use, spreadsheets or notes, that sort of thing. And Honestly, I just keep it very simple. What I'll do is I'll open up a spreadsheet, and I have a file that I keep running, and I'll put a new tab, and I'll put the date on it, and I'll create my watch list, and I'll throw notes next to it. Sometimes I'll organize it by types of setups that I'm watching, whether it's breakout trades or counter trend trades. Um, I'll look at it by alert types. So if I'm scanning the charts, I'll do a bunch of what I call power pivot searches, things that are showing these reversals off the lows, and then I'll set up lists that way. And what I do is I kind of go through a process here. So I'll pick a bunch of names first that I want to do. So like here, I'll just quickly jot down, right? Cap, ROHC, Ripple, Sys, ARC, Wax, Monero, ETH, Tron, and I'll kind of just go through the list. And then I'll go through the charts, and then I'll keep the ones I like, if you will, and I build my watch list that way. And half the time, I mean, these are names that we're pretty familiar with anyway, so it's not like you got to do a ton of work. But there's always new ones that pop up, right? Let's see, SRN was on the move here. We'll take a look at that. Stratus, Nano. Let's go look at some of those here. And so I'll just keep a file going that way. And so here's Nano looking pretty good. Looks like it finally cleared above some resistance there a couple hours ago. What was the other one? Oh, Wax. Yeah, Wax was already moving higher earlier today. Not too bad here. Still within range just now, but look at the volume coming off of that. It's looking pretty good here. Nice reversal. And so that's how I'll do it. I'll just I'll keep it going that way. And it helps that I'm online chatting with other people regularly and sharing stuff like that and sharing ideas. But at the end of the day, I mean, it depends on how active you are. You don't really need that many names to trade. I mean, I know some guys that just will do like the top three, Bitcoin and ETH, and that's it, right? And that's fine too. Digibyte broke out. Yeah, we covered Digibyte, and on the 1 hour, it was a very nice ascending triangle. It looks pretty good. Let me see here. What other names? I'm going through the comments here, guys. Sorry, give me 1 sec here. I'm trying to read these and do. Here, somebody hit the button. Where's the elevator music? Monaco. 10x was moving the other day too, right? Let's go take a look at some of those. That just sitting tight and flat. So that's nice, actually. Just came off of everyone's radar. Everybody forgot about 10x. Big pop. Monaco is doing something similar. Let's see, Monaco. Yep, sitting tight. These guys look like they're ready to set up for another leg higher here. Not bad, man. These these projects have been like long forgotten, right? It's like crypto's dead. No one's going to use these things. It's over. Too much regulation. But yeah, they've had quite the leg down here. Little move off the lows. Not bad. We'll see if they go anywhere. What's your percent win and loss ratio? Man, I'm so glad you asked that question because, well, maybe not so glad, but you bring up an excellent point. And this is going to sound dumb and controversial, but think about it. Bear with me here. When you're trading, and I know not everybody here is a trader, and I get that, but if you are a trader, and it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or any other market, I know it's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense, but you should not measure your success as a trader based on how much money you're making. That doesn't sound right. I know we all want to make a ton of money. We all want to know. I know, I get it. But the money that you're making is the result of your trading success and should not be the measure of your performance. And by that, I mean, there's other metrics that you should be tracking if you want to get better as a trader. Win-loss percent is one of them, but it's actually not the most important one. The most important one is what they call R, or some sort of a relative profit ratio. And what you want to do is drive that higher, because what that means is, let's say you have 10 trades, you take the net win and the net loss for those 10 trades. So if you had 10 trades and your total up winning trades were up, combined sum, let's say $500, and your total losing trades were down, 100, that is a fantastic R, right? It doesn't matter if your win ratio was 50-50 or 30-70 or 60-40. It doesn't matter, because your R is just very high. And that's, so you want to measure two things, right? You want to measure your win-loss ratio, absolutely important, because if you can drive that better, you'll get better at entries and stuff like that, and knowing, why you were losing and what's going on. But if you can drive profit, that's more important, because you can have a lot of losses, and the professionals have a lot of losses, but they keep their losses small. They're wrong quick and they're wrong fast. And the wins, you let the winners run and you maximize those, right? So that's really the true measure. Win-loss ratio helps, but don't get caught up in it, because if you have a great win-loss ratio but your losses are big, it's going to offset all your wins, right? So you got to do it. So that's a good question. There's a couple of things. If you're a trader, I would highly recommend tracking and measuring some performance metrics if you're not already doing it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to get all complicated. Just measure a handful of them. How much wins, how much loss? What's your biggest win? What's your biggest loss? Go look at those charts. What could you have done better? All right, let's keep going here. Oh, ETC, good mention on that one. That was one I was watching earlier here. Looking pretty good here. Yeah, it's just stair-stepping higher. Looking nice. Look at that little bull flag, big volume move, starting to move higher here. How's that RSI looking? Not bad. Not too shabby. ETC. Yeah, it will be on Coinbase. That's right. Verge. Yeah, we did Verge earlier. I think it's good for a counter trend trade. I'm not a long-term believer in Verge. We did Zill. I like Zill. It's just now breaking out. You can see Zill. Strong volume. Still looks good in my opinion. Romania. Oh, man, Romania. Speaking of Romania, so I was at a wedding last weekend. Well, not last weekend. The week before that. I was in San Diego last weekend. The week before that, I was at a Romanian wedding. And I got to say, man, Romanians, they know how to make some fabulous dishes. I got to tell you, I always look forward to those Romanian parties. And the pastries. Oh, man, the Romanian pastries are my favorite. Romanian. I got a lot of Romanian friends here. Let's see here. What's going on? Some exchanges don't have a stop loss. Would you use them? I do when I'm trading. And if you don't have a stop loss, what I would recommend is using an alert. If you're able to watch the charts and set yourself an alert, so when it hits a certain price, at least you'll be notified, and then and at least make some adjustments there. But I tend to use stops, and sometimes they're tight, sometimes they're what I call catastrophic stop losses, meaning they're just kind of there in case some crazy news happens. I don't want to lose 50%. They're there, but usually I can stop out before that happens if I need to, right? So looking at WAN's just now edging higher, not quite as extended as some of these other names. So these are nice, right? They're kind of just cycling through. So it's good to look for these names that haven't had that big move higher yet. And look at this little pause right here, right to this moving average on the 4-hour. Looks like it's about to break higher here. The volume's coming down as this is moving. So WAN's looking really strong here. I'm liking it. Not too bad here. Got to make note of this one. Looks like it's setting up here. WAN. Neo. We did Neo already. You just want to hear me say Neo. Neo, that's it. Big profits on Neo. It's all over. Just kidding. All right. Breaking news, live TV. Trump is being... Nobody cares. Golem. I'm going to do a few more, guys, and then I'm going to let my voice rest, and I'm going to drink some tea, and I'm going to try to not stay up until midnight again looking at charts and be nice and refreshed, ready to rock and roll tomorrow. So let's see here. Looking at Golem. Man, that's some pretty good volume action off the lows here the last few bars. But look at this though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 4-hour bars in a row. Getting there. Still looking pretty good though. Let's see here. What else? A crypto demo account for trading. I'm trying to think of which account that was. Somebody was asking about that the other day too. I don't have one. I don't use one, but that would certainly come in handy to do a lot of testing and trading and practice and whatnot. Yeah, Litecoin. We did Litecoin Tether or USD. Excuse me. They're all moving higher, right? They're having the same look right now. ETH, Cash. A lot of these bigger cap names are staging a similar pattern here at these levels. VeChain. VeChain. Looking pretty good here. Sitting tight right at the highs here, consolidating, holding this pattern. Look at how it how it tested the support earlier, right? Broke out, came back a little bit, still looking pretty nice. On that 4-hour, just letting that moving average catch up. Big volume break above resistance here. And so VeChain's looking pretty good here. That's VeChain dollar. Now looking at VeChain BTC, there's that broader trend that I was watching here. Where is it on Binance? See, it's still not quite broken this broader trend versus Bitcoin, but it's looking like it wants to, right? It's definitely found a level of support here at that 39.5K level, but it's still not quite broken. Looks like it wants to. When I say broken, I mean broken to the upside here. 9, crypto add you to Orion. Done, my friend. Done. And I'm serious. Let me do that. Let me do that now, live on the air. Nobody can see the other screen anyway. All right, let's do a couple more, guys, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up because I can feel my voice going. And I appreciate everybody joining here this late night, probably early for you, live stream. Hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. How's FOMO Mike? Oh, yeah, FOMO Mike. He was helping me with some crypto stuff the other day. FOMO Mike's doing pretty good. Actually, I have a trip planned to go visit him here in about a month. So I'm going to go check him out. Go hang out with FOMO Mike. If I do go to Nashville, I'll let you guys know. Time to do some meetups in Nashville. Matei, you bought the insiders. You didn't get the invitation. I will go check that out, and I will get that sent to you tonight, my friend, right after this call is over. I sent out the first batch of invitations yesterday, so I'll send the other ones out. Encash, we did Encash. Encash is looking good. I'm really liking it here. Setting up very nicely. Probably one of the better setups right now. And Wax, Engine, we did Engine. We'll take one more look at it. It's trending higher. It's looking good. Enigma, I'm sorry, ENG. On this hourly, just strong trend broken this most recent downward hourly, so definitely looking nice there. Key, oh man, Key was going crazy the other day. Key, was that it? Was that it? Was it just a pump and dump, or are we getting for another leg higher here? Let's see here. Key. All right, who sold at the top? I want to know. Man, that's quite the correction there. Still not at the 786, but it's there. Now, if you do candle bodies, but that's not really the right way to do it. But if you do that, you're at the 618. It's a big pullback. On the positive, looking at the hourlies on Key, you can see the RSI is trending higher as this price is flattening out. So it tells me that the sellers may have been exhausted finally. Maybe you get another leg up on Key here soon. Jesus loves Node. I know that. Australia in the house. Power. I'm guessing you mean power by that PWR power. Not, we're gonna look at it anyway because I'm really liking power here, and I'm rooting for power. So we'll see what happens. But nice little setup on power. All right, we'll do 5 more and we'll wrap it up. Loom, nice pop on Loom there, pulling right back to that moving average on lower volume, looking pretty good. Not too shabby here. A little extend on that 4-hour still, but yeah, it's been a strong one. But look at the RSI, even on the 4-hour. I mean, it's already up, hit 80. A little extended. Had quite the move here. There was another one I wanted to see here. We did Nano. I don't care about Cloak. SNT. Nice. Not too shabby on status there. Just trying to break out a little bit here. Just now getting higher. Let me see on the daily. Man, that was so washed out too. Finally doing that counter trend trade I was looking for on this guy. EOS, Ripple, we didn't do IOTA. We do IOTA here. Some of you guys were asking about the IOTA. Los Angeles, Venice in the house. It's been a while since I've been to Venice. At least a couple years. But yeah, looking at IOTA, man, this had a nice breakout here today. Didn't everything? What didn't have a nice breakout? Up 15%. All right. Goes up every 6th. NEM was looking good. It was on my watch list, but I missed that one. But definitely had a nice breakout. Boom. Pulling in a little bit right now. But strong move higher today. Let's see here. What else are we doing? Riverside. Oh, man. Riverside. I used to live in Ontario for a little bit. I actually went to Ontario High. Got a lot of friends in Cucamonga. What was I going to look for? These are asking me about something. Antarctica in the house. Oh, dragon. Obviously, it's getting late. The delirium is kicking in. Not that late. Man, I'm such a wuss. Although I didn't sleep too much last night. Dragon, man. Dragon, is it finally done going down? I thought Dragon was going to go to like 2 cents. Good Lord, Dragon. But yeah, this one, maybe. Would like to see a little bit more action on Dragon here. Some volume coming in at the lows at least, but wow. Maybe it's finally at least due for a little bit of a bump. Toronto in the house. Chicago in the house. Bat. Probably number 5 right there, right? I'm guessing. Pretty close. Bats. And Basic Attention was one of the stronger ones off the bat earlier. Off the bat, no pun intended. Was one of the stronger ones here. You can see this one begin to show some good action here earlier. Let me go bat here. By that I mean it had already had a little bit of a run up. You can see here this little move coming off of middle June up to end June, had that pullback, and so this one's already been stronger, but definitely looking pretty good here. Nice little pause that it's showing. Do I hold any penny stocks long? I do not do any penny stocks. When I do stocks, I generally do I kind of have like a rule, like I don't do penny stocks. It's kind of like crypto. Like there's certain coins that if they're just low volume, yeah, you could probably get a 50-60% move off of them, but it's just hard for me to trade the small ones. They're just so volatile, and you can't do any stuff like that. Penny stocks. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm gonna do a couple more, and I think that's it. Delirium is a good beer. Never had that. Delirium. So look it up. Australian living in Bali. Hey, that's the way to do it. I don't know any idea on the Aunt gas date. Anybody else know? Phoenix in the house. Detroit. Detroit. Never been to Detroit. Link. Let's go check it out. Hey, Link, man, doing pretty good there. Nice little move here the last few hours. Yeah, very strong. I guess it depends on where you got in or if you're in it or not. If I were not in it right now, I probably would not pick it up here just because it looks a little extended. But that's a nice little move, depending on where you got it. And I'm talking trading, not long term. Obviously, long term, just getting started for most of these names, in my opinion. But yeah, not bad. Not too bad. West Palm Beach, Florida. Minnesota. Good Lord, Minnesota's cold. I was there in January. That was not a good idea. Oh, man. EOS. Yeah, EOS. God, what a drama EOS is becoming. And the RAM and all that craziness. Like, eesh. Venezuela. All right. I think we covered most of them, guys. Thanks for hanging here. I would love to stay on the stream and do another hour with you guys and hang out and banter and let you guys hear my crazy thoughts. But for the sake of my voice and for the sake of me getting over this cold, I'm going to have to wrap it up here soon. Let me see here. Ask Note anything. You guys can ask me anything you want. I don't have to answer. I could plead the fifth. Coinbase Pro favorites, 0x, BAT, Golem, Augur. Yeah, those are some good choices. Some of those older names I think would be good choices. OMG. Please do Digibyte. We did Digibyte. I like Digibyte. Had a classic ascending triangle based on that 1 hour chart, which it broke out of today. And it's still looking good. Digibyte. My agent, black or white? None of the above. And I'm not a fat guy with a ponytail. Go rep on Polo or Binance or something. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Lower volume still, but not too bad. Tesla. I'm shorting Tesla right now. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging here. Thanks for hitting the like buttons. Appreciate having you guys. Look out for some more updates later this week. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see what the market does. But happy trading. And until next time, take care, everyone. Talk to you soon.